Okay. Hello students, welcome back. So up until this point we have learned what is a function, and we have learned what are the arguments that can be passed to a function, and what is a return value. Okay. We have learned about arcs and quarks, okay, etc. So today we'll look at variable scopes. Now variable scopes, a scope is nothing but the area within the program, within the lines of code for which a variable is accessible. Let me explain this with an example. In Python, we have three scopes. One is local, non-local, and global. Okay. Local, we don't have any keyword. This you have to remember. Local, we don't have any keyword. We have only keywords for global and non-local. I'll give you the reason as well why that is. Okay. Let's just say, let me first type an example and I will explain you with an example. Let's just say x is equal to 10 and I'm going to define the function 1. Okay. Simple function z value equals to 7, and I'm going to print x value inside that and also print z value. And I'm also defining another function to demonstrate how global works, and inside that function I am accessing x. Okay. Um, let's just say, let me call those functions function 1, okay, and function 2. Okay, all right. Notice something. This x is defined outside the function, but I'm printing inside the function 1. When I print inside the function, okay, let me execute this here. Okay, otherwise it's a little confusing. um, okay, now better. So x is defined outside the function, but inside the function 1 I'm printing it, inside the function 2 also I'm printing it. Okay. When I call the function 2, I'm able to get x value, and x value I'm able to get inside the function 1 as well. So basically any variable defined outside the function, it is accessible to all the functions. Okay, even if this second function is inner function. Okay. So here it may not work because even function is local. Okay, as you can see, it is printing the value because it's defined previously, right? So that's why print xyz. I will change the variable name. Maybe then you can understand. Okay. Okay, it's accessible. Anything defined globally is accessible to outer function, inner function, separate functions, any classes, basically everywhere. Okay. Hence we say this variable is globally available for the entire program. Okay. Hence we call it as global scope. Okay. Global means variable is available to all the functions, all the classes, provided it is defined outside the functions and classes. Okay. So we say it is globally available. Okay. Now let me show you the second variation of the same code. If I define global xyz, this also is the same thing. Okay. Defining either global one, either defining a variable which is defined outside the function as either global or not global. Both are same. Python interprets these sort of variables which are defined outside the functions as global. Hence there is no need to define this variable as global. By default it is global only. Anything defined, I will write here, not required. Okay. Any variable defined outside the function is by default global. No need to define this explicitly. If you just type xyz equals to 10, interpreter automatically understands it's a global variable. All right. So Hope this is clear. Okay, the second thing. Okay, let me write a different function. Let's just say my func of 1. Okay, this is my another function, and here I will type John. Okay, x equals to John, and then I will create another inner function, my func 2. Okay, on here I would define x equals to hello, and I will call that second function inside first function, my func 2 of, okay, return x, return x. This is my function, and I'm calling my func 1. Okay, so if you notice something, this x value was defined as John. Okay, first of all, this x value, let me print here. X value is still 10 from previous program, because we had okay, let me delete del x. Okay, now there is no x. Let me execute this code now, which has x. Now if I type x, it's not available. What I am trying to say is, any variable defined inside a function is said to have local scope. What it means is, it will only be available locally. This x will be available only till end of this function, not outside the function. Hence it says x is not defined. Okay, that is one thing. One is, variables inside function are local to function. This is one thing. Global scope, we understood, anything defined outside the function is available everywhere. Variables defined inside the function are only available to that function, not available anywhere else. That is also we understood from this. One more thing, if you notice, this x is locally available to function 1, but function 2 is also locally available to function 1. Anything inside function 2 should also be available to function 1, but that is not the case. If you notice, I I have created John, but I have replaced that John with hello again inside function 2. And I have also made function 2 available a part of this function 1 by, if you notice the space, using space you have to understand whatever is available to function 1. So by intention I have made this function 2 available to function 1. In spite of that, when I'm trying to return x, I'm only getting John, I'm not getting hello. Ideally I was supposed to get hello, but that is not the case. How do I make, now the question is, how do I make innermost functions variables accessible to outermost function variables? Very simple. That is where our non-local keyword comes. Okay, non-local keyword comes. If I declare this x as non-local x, okay, execute the same function. Okay, let me not modify this. Let me copy paste, and I will show you. Okay, if I declare this as non-local x, now what I'm saying is, make this x accessible to uppermost function or outermost function. Now see what happened. John got replaced with non. Now what happened was, we are telling interpreter, okay boss, whatever the innermost function you have, whatever the variable you have, you make that as non-local. That means you make that available to all these functions, outermost function only, not global. It is still not global, it is only accessible to here only. If I still type x, it is still not defined. Why? It is not globally available, it is not available outside the function. It is only available only to the uppermost function. That is what non-local does. Non-local will increase the scope of innermost variables to outermost functions. Innermost variables defined inside inner function, okay, or I should say it will make the scope of variables defined inside innermost function to outermost functions. Okay, now what if I want to make the same variable accesses outside also? That we already know. We have something called global. You define this as global, it will become global again. Now it became John again. Okay, John became, you got back the result as John. But what also happened was, if you type X, notice what is happening. Earlier X was undefined. Now that I have made this X as global, okay, it is also accessible outside the function. Now it has hello value. Okay, that's the use of global. Global is if you have something inside a function that you want to expose to the entire program, you define it as global. If you have something inside the innermost function that you want only outermost function to access, you define it as non-local. Okay, that is the difference between global and non-local. Okay, if this is clear, I can give you another example, very simple example of addition. Let's just say I define addition. I give a is equal to 2, okay, and then I say print a, and then I have innermost function called def addition. Let me make it innermost function, okay, and here I add a is equal to 4 and I'm returning a. Now if I call add on top of this, what is happening? 2 value is coming, not 4 value. Likewise addition is not defined, because addition is also local to anything inside a function is local to it. Okay, even this innermost function is local to outermost function, hence it's not accessible. Okay, all right, so that is why addition is not accessible. But let's just say I make a minor change here, in that I define this as non-local a, and I execute. Okay, um, and let me type it in such a way that let me change it to b value. Okay, fine. Let me change this value. Let me change this to b, because we don't want variables to overlap. Okay, inside, and I'm returning b here. I'm returning b. Let me return b as a part of this main function, and also call this addition as a part of main function. Otherwise, if I don't call, it won't be available. As simple as that. Now watch what happened. Now why 4 is coming? It's because b value has become non-local, even though we set value as 2. Okay, if I do, when I set value as 2, I'm printing also. Because I'm printing, the value 2 is coming. Let's see. Uh, let's say here, if I say printing immediately after setting local b value, if I say like this, and print, see, immediately after setting the value I'm printing, that's why it's 2, first 2, that's why you got this first 2. But when I set this as non-local, that b value was overwritten by b. Okay, hence when I am calling addition inside, this b value is being being written. So here b value what you have is 4 value, not 2 value. Originally it was 2. Now because we have set it as non-local, it is being overwritten. But this function, if you notice, it is still not available. Okay, let's try something unique. If I make this as global, okay, Global and non-local are only for variables, as you can see from this experiment. You see, I'm trying to make the function itself as non-local. Okay, let me try something else as well. I will not make it non-local while calling it, but rather I will make it here while defining it. Let's see how that pans out. Okay, non-local function is still not available. Let me try global. Nice for an experiment. You see, so this global and non-local are only for variables, not for functions. Okay, that you must understand. Non-local and global only apply to variables, not to functions, as you can see from this result. So I hope there are no doubts up until here. So next topic for us would be decorator. Okay, this we will learn in the next class. All right, so I want to end the class here, but any doubts you have, just ping me. I will help you understand.